Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome back to our online practice here. I'm in the studio. I took over the lobby, so there is a class coming out right now, so you may hear some of that. We're going to set up for a detox practice today. So it's our restorative practice. If you remember, we were doing these back more in the beginning of the pandemic in the evenings, but I wanted to get a new recording and detox experience out there for everybody that appreciates this practice. If you have a yoga block, grab your yoga block. If you have an extra towel, that helps with padding knees and things so you can be a little bit more comfortable. Or if you want to grab some pillows, go ahead and grab those things now, and we'll start in about a minute. You can also pull up any playlist you'd like. There's plenty on my Spotify, or you can just, relaxing, maybe some more ambient type music if you want to listen to something while we practice today. I'm going to grab a couple blocks here. And so understanding that you may not have two yoga blocks, you could always, again, if I'm using two blocks, you could always use two pillows or anything else to elevate or to support your body. The reason why these are great is because they're firm. These are cork blocks. I like these cork blocks better than wood blocks personally. It's not like I can squeeze them, but they do have a little bit of a give, which is better. Think the difference of like standing on carpet versus standing directly on concrete. Okay, once you're ready and you've got yourself situated, and take your pillow or your block or anything, and we're going to put that at the top of the mat. You can set your other block aside. I've got so much stuff here today. And then we're going to lie down onto that. So it's a block pillow or it's an actual pillow. Maybe I'll put this stuff on the other side. And so you basically set yourself up with a headrest. It's also a great practice if this is a notification that the experience is going live and you feel a little wound up already today or from yesterday. Put in your earbuds, right? Listen to the practice. And there's going to be moments in where it's just space. It's not even white noise. Sometimes we use techniques and tools, the white noise to kind of and help us detach from our thoughts, but this is just going to be space, and that you can sit and you can observe and acknowledge what you're feeling, what you're thinking. And so being 8:30 in the morning here on the West Coast, and the sun's just starting to peek out today. And this time of year in Los Angeles is called May gray, and then it's followed by June gloom. So it's basically a marine layer that occurs in the atmosphere, and then we sit underneath the clouds. Mostly in the mornings. It tends to clear up a little bit more in the afternoon or in the evenings, but it's the one time of year where we actually get to sit under some clouds for a little bit, so it feels like you're in a little bit of a cocoon. It can draw up a lot of things for people. We've all been talking, and we understand we have it pretty good here in LA, but it is that you're feeling something different. And from the gray growing up in Chicago, I remember there being weeks that you would go with cold weather, right? Very uncomfortable, and where you wouldn't see the sun. And that tends to bring up a lot of opportunities for people. And so I would encourage you to take on, right, whatever those things may be with a practice, and where you can at least insert some space and to observe. As your head is resting here, feel the space across your back and your shoulders. If you did the fit practice with me yesterday, I woke up this morning going, man, why do my front of my shoulders and my chest and my upper back, why am I feeling those? And then I was like, oh yes. And we did 100 push-ups yesterday during the practice. You can keep your head on the pillow unless it's really causing a lot of discomfort in your neck. And then bring the soles of your feet together. I mean, whatever distance feels good in your hips. You may want to slide the feet a little bit further away as you let your knees fall apart. I mean, we're clearing the bone structure and then encountering in that point in where the bones are going to basically hold us in place. I mean, something you can do here, if this is pretty darn tight, is you can tuck some pillows underneath your outer thighs, and then you give yourself something to rest into so it doesn't feel like, oof, right? You're just tearing apart and from the base of your pelvis into your hips. And it should be something that you can feel, but it's not necessarily overwhelming in your ability to remain still. And let your breath slow down. Watch your belly rise and fall as you're breathing, and you're breathing naturally, so unforced. And little to no control around the breath, and when you land in the position. And in some ways, it's letting your mind fade. As you allow your mind to fade, and you hold on less to your thoughts, you can see them in cycles. You can see them as they come. You can then notice how much or how deep, right, that attachment or meaning of that thought sets into your being. And then you can also feel as the breath continues to flow. Watch that moment in where you're no longer attaching to it. Where the space in your mind has been freed up again. And then you get to see and watch what comes next. I mean, think of this like warming yourself up and to sit in the stillness and to relax around the sensation or whatever else is going on around you. Remember, this is a good place to allow everything to be as it is. Any noises, right? Other members of your family, your children, the animals, whatever those things might be, that energy and that is wrapping around you, and you allow it to be a part of your practice without pushing it away. You use your hands to your outer thighs. Start to bring your knees back up towards each other. You can feel how this translates through your low back as you take your feet flat, and adjusting your hips and back into a more neutral place. And take your hands into your block or to your pillow. And then go ahead and slide it out, and so that your head can come all the way down onto your mat. Yeah, it's a subtle movement. Let your knees fall in towards each other. And see if you already have the opportunity to take a deep breath in and a light sigh. Exhale all the air out. Now, whether it was a pillow or a block, back up, place it in between your legs, and so above your knees. And then we're going to scoot the hips over to the right, and with the pillow or the block in between the legs, and roll onto your left side. And just here, and so that you're resting and your head into your bicep. And we put that spacer of the pillow or the block on the legs in so that your hip creases, the ones that you were just expanding and opening from the inner thighs, have something to rest into. And your right arm can relax down your side. And at any point, once you get situated in the posture and you're letting your body release, your muscles relax, you're always welcome and to close your eyes. And you may find those moments in where it intuitively feels good to take a deeper breath and the body is going to drop in. And the weight of gravity taking you deeper into the set and compression. And so allow yourself to roll with those breaths and release through the exhale. And continue to soften and settle. And you'll see, whereas in the other classes we can really get caught up in the energy of trying. We can get caught up in the energy of doing more and improving our postures, getting stronger, whatever those actions may be, progression. And yet see how you feel when you get into a practice where it's all about doing less. And it's all about letting go, and yet still encountering those moments. It could be conflict, could be confrontation, and things that we must acknowledge and through our minds and be honest and dig deeper for that honesty within yourself, and so that you can eventually reach that space of clarity and the connection, the yoga. Let's take the hand to the block or the pillow and go ahead and slide it out. And you feel what it's like to let your knees, your inner thighs come all the way together. And take a deeper breath into your body, full exhale, and let all the air come out. You move slowly through the transitions. Use your right hand, start to press your way up. And we'll turn ourselves, all fours, facing the top of your mat. And spread your knees apart. Now we're going to incorporate 2 blocks or 2 pillows or any 2 items, and that can elevate in your hands off the ground. And so in this case, I can curl the fingertips around the back side. And then I'm going to let those objects slide back with me until the hips settle as far as they're going to settle for now. And with the hands elevated off the ground, and let your forehead come down. And so any objects, and you can place your hands on them. And it's going to suspend your arms. And if this is too much, right, your shoulders are really tight, the flexion is too much, then you can start with the hands directly onto the mat, and then perhaps halfway through, you can explore putting your hands back on the objects. And so as we increase the flexion to the shoulders, And it's going to breed this relationship with the sensation, right? I say like tightening the screws in your shoulders versus loosening the screws. We're feeling more. And detox is such a great practice, and to observe. I call them natural because they're common, or maybe common is better. Common imbalances that sit in the human body. And so many times you're feeling more in one hip versus the other hip, one shoulder versus the other shoulder. And so we sit a little bit longer, and perhaps we're promoting a bit more balance and for the body to adjust. And you can either stay with it where you are. If your hands are on the ground and you want to go up to two objects at this point, you can. If you're on two objects and you have the ability to turn them up and make them a little bit higher, you can elevate your hands a little bit higher and continue to let your forehead settle down onto your mat. And the shoulders are such a hot spot for most people. And you say, hey, where do you hold most of your tension? Most people will obviously say their hips, but I'd say right up there would be shoulders, upper back, neck. And so then we must explore why, or what are the conditions, and through the relationship with our body, and that cause us to hold on to the tension in these parts of our body. And then what can we ultimately do, or how can we place ourselves in moments and expressions and practices like this and where we're letting some of that go. And pretty normal at this point if you're getting little quivers or shakes in your arms. And compress pretty deeply here into the shoulder socket. We'll stay for about 1 more minute. And relax the breathing. Let your body be as still as it can possibly be. And let's go nice and slow. First, sliding your hands off of the objects. Go slow. You'll feel this release all the way and down your arms, and then one arm at a time, start to slide it back by your side. So you're taking your shoulders from flexion to extension. And this may drop you in a little bit deeper. The weight in your forehead, so pay attention to your neck. And it may drop you a little bit deeper of the weight of your hips coming down into your heels, but it should feel pretty good to let your shoulders go. And for stability and support, make 2 fists with your hands. And put your knuckles into the mat and beside your torso, and then use those fists and to slowly lift your chest and your head back up off the ground. Chin stays close to the chest, eyes can remain closed. Take a deep breath in through your nose. And exhale, you can release all the air. Right, take your 2 pillows, could be blankets, could be blocks. And then we're going to set them so they sit underneath the front of your hips or the tops of your thighs. So adjust as needed with those blocks. And if I've got mine turned out a little bit too much, and turn them in, feel them support in the front of the hip and the front of the thigh. And then once you get your objects, call them props or objects. You can relax your knees, relax your legs, and let your chest come down, arms. The elbows turned out. And make any adjustments for your body that you may need to. And so that you can settle, soften, and release. And again, you can do any of these positions without objects. You could just be lying on your belly, and you're going to receive a similar benefit. And from your right cheek, turn to your left cheek. And let your head be heavy. And continue to release your belly as you soften your body into the mat and let go of any of that tension that you may have been holding on to in your neck and your shoulders today. Let's go nice and slow. Bring your chin back to the mat. You can walk your elbows in, use your arms to support you as you begin to lift yourself back up. And then crawl your elbows in. And then come back onto your knees. And slowly move your bum back. Keep walking your elbows in, making your way to your palms. And then you can take the objects or your blocks and your props off to the side of your mat. Come into a tabletop, all fours. And go ahead and feel it move around a little bit side to side with your hips. You can roll your head and roll out your neck. And feel your shoulders. Any direction that feels good here. And then we'll let the hips settle. Come back down onto your elbows and straighten your legs out behind you. And separate your feet as wide as you'd like. And adjust your hips into the ground. And we're going to take the right arm behind your left elbow and then slide it out to the left. Take your left arm. Move this block so you can see. Slide your left arm out to the right. And then keep sliding your hands away. So we've crossed the arms at the elbows. And it's going to create a horizontal expansion across your upper back and your shoulder girdle. Now tuck your toes once, or tuck your toes on each side, and then scoot your hips forward a little bit. And so the arms are now a little bit more underneath your torso. And then there's room for your head to come down. So you can release the toes. You make any adjustments.
And find a place, whichever place your chin can rest. Let it rest. And when we do this, notice if at first you're still gripping with your bum, not quite letting go. And through your legs, because the more you let go through your legs, the more weight of your torso you're going to feel into your arms. And the more opening you're going to feel into your back. If you're starting to get some tingles in your fingers and your hands and your wrists, that's okay. 1 more minute. The hips heavy, you can start to lift your head back up. And these arms may not want to move so easily, so go slow, sliding your right elbow back a little bit. And then your left elbow back a little bit. And then keep sliding your arms out. And then as you release down onto your belly, and take your right arm out into a T. And then keep your left arm bent and come down onto your right cheek. And observe a few waves of this release. As you settle back into the space in your torso. And feeling perhaps a little bit more balanced, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Let's keep the right arm into the T, left hand beside the chest. And turn onto your right hip. And as you keep your right arm, you may want to adjust, lift the chest a little bit, and then reset across the front of the shoulder. And your left foot steps behind, and your right leg, which can be bent or straight. You may want to use your prop underneath your head or your pillow, but under the side of your head, so above your ear. And that may feel nice. And then you can find a place for your left foot to set flat and the knee to fall out as far as it would like to. If your neck is supported, left arm can go behind your back, or it can remain on the mat and beside your chest. You'll notice something similar in all of these postures today. This will be a good practice and to visit, and perhaps even weekly. And because it's getting the hips and it's also getting the shoulders, and so it's hitting the two major joint areas of the entire body. And really good complement and for a rigorous and vigorous flow practice that we're doing most every other day of the week. So at least one day a week, and this can be a good one to come back to. And I get it, you could be feeling it. I'm feeling it. And remain as still as you possibly can. Encounter those waves or moments of intensity. Soften your breath and release to relax the attachment and continue to observe. If you took your left hand behind your back and bring it back around to the mat, support. And then you can start to bring your left knee back around. And we'll turn ourselves back onto the front of the hips. And you can feel that across your sacrum, triangular bone at the base of your spine. And as you're coming out of it, go nice and slow. And slide your prop to the side. And use your left forearm as a little pillow, and so that you can release your right arm down by your side. Feel your chest release into the mat. Should feel pretty comfortable. Alright, slide your elbows back in underneath your shoulders. And we'll set up the expansion through the upper back one more time on the other side. And walk your knees out, set your hips heavy. And we'll take the left arm behind the right elbow first. And then slide your left wrist out to the right. And then bring your right arm to the left. And slide that wrist away. So we're squaring ourselves, centered over the cross of the elbows. And tuck your toes. And walk your hips forward a bit so your torso is over your arms more. And let your legs and your hips settle. And then go ahead and let your torso come down over your arms. And again, if you're getting those tingles in your fingers and your hands working up your arms at this point, it's okay. About one more minute. And it's a really good posture for getting up underneath your shoulder blades into your rhomboid muscles, which you're using in every single practice. And go ahead and start to lift your head and then slide your elbows back inch by inch. Take it slow. And let your left arm come out into a half T. And then coming down onto the front of your left shoulder, use your right hand beside your body. You make any adjustments if you need to lift your chest. And then you can bend your legs and start to turn onto your left hip. And left leg can stay straight or bent. Right foot steps behind. And again, make the adjustments, hips. And feel the opening in the left side of the chest, the compression into the back side of your shoulder. And then you may find that you want that pillow or block support. It's above the ear. And you're resting the side of your head. Right, if it's a block. Otherwise, anything to elevate the head might feel nice. Stay, or then bring your right arm and behind your back, any amount. And we must remind ourselves and to acknowledge what we're doing while we're doing it. So this is the practice of mindfulness. Being versus doing. And if you notice your mind jumping ahead, jumping ahead, jumping ahead, jumping around, jumping ahead, and the sensations that you're feeling should be enough and to keep you in this place, in this moment. You start to bring yourself back, please. If your right arm is behind you, bring your right hand back around. And then you can start to turn back onto your belly. Right knee comes over. Slide your block or your prop out from underneath your head. And as you continue to release onto your chest, and set your right arm, hand as a pillow, and then bring your left arm down by your side. Oof. Mm. And let yourself drop into it. Feel and enjoy the release. Okay, nice and slow. You can hover your head. Start to bring your left elbow back underneath your shoulder. And then to your right elbow. And crawl your knees in. Start to make your way back up to all fours, hands and knees. And sit onto your heels if you'd like a little sip of water. And sometimes this practice, it can feel like when you get a massage. It's happening to me right now. It dries you out. And so go have a sip. Make sure you drink plenty of water and throughout the day after this practice. And it's that deep compression. And then the release of the compression that is flushing the system. If you have a yoga block, a pillow, you place it down. We're going to turn around to lie down. So our backs running in line with are going to come down either onto the block. And so think the bottom of the block is just above and the top of your kidneys. And then let yourself roll all the way up over it. So again, anything that is firm enough and that you can place in so that you create this opening to the barrel of the chest. You reset your hips, adjust your feet. But you want your hips to be grounded. And your head has the ability. If your head does not have the ability to be on the ground, you could always take a secondary prop. Like the towel here, and then put it underneath your head. Oops. That might feel better for your neck. And then relax your arms down by your sides. Watch the pace of your breathing naturally, unforced, without changing it. And it should feel pretty slow. final posture if you're and set flat to your back. In Shavasana, more traditionally, you can go ahead and do that as well. And give yourself at least 3 minutes, if not 5 minutes or longer, to enjoy the space and that you've created and through your body and through your detox practice this morning, this afternoon, or this evening, whenever you may be engaging this practice. And reminder, this is a good one to come back to. It will help maintain and sustain the health and space in the major joints of your body and your hips. A great complement and for the vinyasa practice. And thank you all so much for joining today. I hope you have a beautiful day. Right? And let me know how this feels. Email is joek@urban728yoga.com. And if you have any questions about your practice on your mat physically, if you have any questions about your yoga life practice off your mat, feel free to reach out. Have a beautiful day, everybody. Take your time. And thank you for sharing in your practice. Namaste.